on this computer. Okay.
All right. Hi, everyone. This is Stephanie Burns with the Business of Our Art, and I am so happy. Today we're kicking off our virtual authors live reading. I'm here talking to the amazing Zoe Flowers. Zoe is author of From Ashes to Angel Dust, right? A Journey Through Womanhood. Welcome, Zoe.
Hey, Stephanie. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm really good. I'm freezing over here in Connecticut, but we got snowed in yesterday. It was 60 degrees on Wednesday,
Wow.
and then it was a foot of snow yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah.
So one request, keep the snow there, because I'm here in sunny New Orleans, and we prefer the sunshine. So just keep the snow there.
I will. And if you hear any noise in the background, I'm at a coffee shop, aka my office. So.
Hey, well, that's what most artists do, right? We find it office anywhere. And so I'm just happy to have you on the phone and have you as the first guest. This is amazing. I love it. Miss Zoe, yeah.
So excited to talk to you.
Yeah, so let's talk about this book. Let's start with the title.
Okay.
From Ashes to Angel Dust.
Yeah.
Where did the title originate? Talking about it. I love it, by the way.
Thank you.
But let's talk about the title.
Yeah, you know what? The title was actually, we were going back and forth about the title when I was working on the play, which maybe we'll talk about later. That was actually came from the book. And actually, my friend Peggy, who passed away 2 years now, actually, she came up with the title because I was talking about how, because of what it's about. And I was talking about how women go through all of these things and the ashes from sort of all the things that burned us, that it becomes our wings, it becomes I got real ethereal with it, but it was like, as we become angels, the dust that comes off of our wings is the angel's dust. I mean, I just got real extra with it. So. And that's kind of how it came about. We were just all sitting around, my Peggy and my writing partner Sherry, and we were just like trying to figure out what the name was, and it just made sense.
That makes sense. And when you think about that, we come from the earth, right? From ashes to ashes, to dust, and so that fits. Going from that, and then a journey through womanhood. When we think about our journey from childhood to where we are today, and so tell people a little bit about what the book is about, because it's heavy. It's good, but it is heavy. So I got to warn people: it is not for the faint of heart, but it's necessary.
And here I am cracking up as you're saying it's heavy. I guess because I've been doing the work for so long, and I guess I forget really how heavy it is and how heavy the topic is, right? Because even my editor, when she sent it back to me, she was like, wow, this is a lot. And I was like, really? But it's because I'm so inundated in the world of, domestic and sexual violence that, some pieces are very hard to get through. And so it's about, domestic and sexual violence, particularly with African-American women. And it's their stories of childhood sexual abuse. It's stories of domestic violence, dating violence. My experience from domestic and dating violence is a couple of the stories are in there as well. And but it's also just it's in the survivor's words.
Okay.
It's with most of the interviews, I did very little editing. I edited for grammatical things, of course, but it's very much in the tone of the women that I spoke with, because one of the things I find is a lot of times people speak for survivors, or our voices are ignored completely, especially women of color survivors, especially Black women voices.
Right.
I think because sometimes we are very, what people would say, emotional or loud, or we're very present. And so I think people feel like they mistake that loudness or that presence for like, we've got it all together, so we're complaining a lot of times. And a lot of our complaints go unheard. A lot of our issues go unheard and unaddressed. And I think people mistake presence for people whose needs are being addressed. So hopefully that answered your question.
Right. It did. So, and the reason for me, I think it was on the heavy side. I am a survivor of sexual assault, and you know, it's necessary because you make an excellent point. It's often, especially women of color, what resources do we have? Who do we talk to? There's always sometimes the stigma that you can't seek counseling. And so oftentimes people find themselves by themselves trying to work through their issues and their problems. And so I think this is really helpful and necessary. I want our viewers to see the when you start off, I love the fact that it was titled Returning from Exile. That really spoke to me. And then you kind of hit people with some facts. So there's, just for everyone to know, there's personal stories. Zoe interviews people. There's statistics. There's resources. There's poetry. So there's a lot of different things. So talk to us about your process, the formatting of the book. Why did you choose to put certain things before others? Why is it like this hodgepodge of things?
Mm-hmm. And I hope it was cohesive. But, you know, I really wanted, because number one, I do so many different things. I do poetry, but I also work in the domestic violence movement, but I'm also a writer, and I also do healing work.
Right.
And so I wanted to give people an overview of me, really, but also as different ways to heal from these issues. Because I healed from abuse. Well, we're always in a stage of healing. So in my journey, in my walk of healing, poetry has been crucial. The healing exercises that are in the books have been crucial. And also learning about the facts, right, are crucial for me, because I like to know facts. I like to know what I'm talking about, because then that can help me make sense of what's happening. And again, a lot of times people want to sensationalize domestic and sexual violence, or they want to reduce it to incidences, right? And for me, it's important for people to know that these are not incidences. What we're seeing has a historical effect. I mean, not historical, it has historical reasons. There's historical reasons. There are pop culture reasons. There are societal reasons for abuse. There's certainly religious doctrines and things like that that impact abuse, right? So I wanted to give the reader a full spectrum of how our society comes together and supports violence against women, because violence against women could not exist without racism, sexism, homophobia, all these other things, patriarchy. All these things contribute to rape culture, which contribute to violence against women. So that's why that stuff is in there. And then the poetry, I wanted to make sure that the poetry lined up with the stories. And so that's why the poetry was
right. Excellent. And I want to hear some of your poems. I'm going to let you do a couple of readings in a bit.
Sure.
Who do you think is the audience for this? Do you envision survivors as well as, let's say, universities, faith-based organizations, nonprofit organizations? Who do you think should run out and buy this book?
Well, I think anybody that's concerned about violence, anybody that's concerned about domestic and sexual violence, right? The book is about women, because those are the folks that I interviewed, because women are disproportionately impacted by violence against women, even though there are male survivors in same-sex relationships and also in heterosexual relationships that are abused as well. But I chose to speak with women. So certainly survivors of Black women, survivors of domestic and sexual violence, colleges and universities, absolutely. I do a lot of, and maybe we'll talk about that later. I do speak on college campuses. That work is just beginning. Domestic violence shelters, I think, would be a great resource to have on your shelf because it is true stories. And so it's good for survivors, I think, to see themselves reflected in other people's words.
Oh, excellent. I saw that there's a resource for faith-based organizations. And as someone who grew up in the church, I often feel as if the church doesn't address sexual violence and domestic violence to the extent I think they should. What are your thoughts about that, and what were you thinking when you added that section in there?
Heavy sigh. Well, yes, I agree with you. I think that the churches should definitely be doing more. But I can say, they're doing more than they were when I started doing the work 15, 16 years ago. I have to say that. Many churches have really started recognizing the importance of talking about domestic violence from the pulpit and things like that. But I think, because there's still so much patriarchy, right? Because there are preachers and pastors who don't believe that women should be allowed to preach, even though women make up X amount % of the church body, donate X amount of dollars, run the churches in so many, places. When you really look at who the backbone of, particularly Black churches, who the backbone of those churches are, they are typically women, but yet we don't have a lot of times the power to make the decisions. It's imbalanced. It's imbalanced.
Yeah.
And it is, there's still a lot of sexism. And all of those things, again, contribute to the culture of violence. Also the belief that what happens in the home stays in the home, or you can pray certain things away. The reluctance of, it's changing, but the reluctance of a lot of our folks to want to, quote unquote, air their dirty laundry or really go and seek help. A lot of times churches, their job in ways is to keep that family together, is to keep that family unit, right? And so that sometimes puts them at odds unintentionally with domestic and sexual violence advocates who are wanting to keep mom safe or the children safe, right?
Excellent, yeah. No, I agree with you. And you're right, there are some churches out there that's doing some amazing things. And my hope is through this interview that those minister leaders, youth leaders, pastors who hear this will go out and get your book, From Ashes to Angel Dust, A Journey Through Womanhood by Ms. Zoe Flowers. Yeah. So Zoe, let's get into some of the meat of it. Why don't you, do you want to read one of your poems?
I will. Yeah, I will. And I do just want to say lastly on that church piece that those of us working in the domestic violence movement, we have to reach out to faith communities because more often than not, that is the first place survivors go when violence happens.
Right.
So we need to be working with church communities to help them address these issues because, folks want people to be safe. That's what most of us want who are doing the work. So I don't want that to get lost.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. And we, again, I come from a lineage of ministers, and we definitely we have to honor each other and support each other. And I thought the work that you're doing is very important. And I agree with you. There's a place for everyone, and we can cross that out. It doesn't happen in government often, but it surely happens in our community. Absolutely. Where we all come together to support each other.
Absolutely, and we're going to have to anyway.
Your voices to those people.
Yeah, and we're going to have
Huh?
to. I said, and we're going to have to with what's going on in the country. We're going to have to really work together like we haven't had to in a long time.
Right. So which poem are you going to read for us?
I don't know.
I have some favorites, but no.
Okay. You tell me. That's easy. You tell me what you want me to read.
I love We Black Girls. I love them all. So I love Good Girl Gone Bad.
Oh. Okay. And those are one right after the other, so I can read those two.
You have the book, it's page 55. If you don't, you have to go get it to know what she's talking about. But here's just a little taste. So we're going to start with Good Girl Gone Bad.
Yeah, Good Girl Gone Bad. And this actually was inspired, after, the title of Rihanna's album, one of her early albums, Good Girl Gone Bad. And this was kind of after the Chris Brown incident.
Okay.
Yeah. And I just kind of expanded it to include other people. But I'm tired of hearing them argue all the time. I don't get involved in growing people's business. You get hurt like that. Most time, women you trying to help turn on you. That's why I don't get involved. Don't call police. Let them fight till somebody passes out. Left her trifling ass alone. I seen the pictures, but I ain't rushing to no judgment. We don't have all the information. We don't know the whole story. There are two sides to every story. Takes two to tango. I heard she hit him first, gave him a disease, cheated, spent all his money. She got to take some responsibility. She gives as good as she gets. Like I always say, make your bed hard, you got to lie in it. She always walking around like she's cute anyway, in them tight clothes. Thinks she cute. What did she think he was going to do? A man can only take so much. I'm so tired of these women playing the victim. I would just leave. I would be so out of there. If it's so bad, why don't she just take the kids, quit her job, leave her house, move to a new neighborhood, move to a new city, get another job? Just leave. If it's so bad, that's what I would do. I would. But that's just me. Oh, that would not be me. I don't play that. My man knows better. That's why I say she's got to like it. Some women just that way. I told you, she likes it.
Wow. Good Girl Gone Bad. That really resonated with me because you see and hear that all the time, right? People don't want to get involved. She must have asked for it. She must like it. That'll never happen to me. So, tell us from your perspective, about that point.
Well, working in the domestic violence field, and even, so when the whole Chris Brown, first of all, I don't believe in domestic violence incidences.
Did we lose Zoe?
Can you hear me? Hello? Yep. Hello? I'm back. Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So, when these incidences come around, whether it was Janae Rice or Rihanna or whoever, I typically try to stay off social media and not be involved in the conversations because, these are the kind of things that we hear. It's always, what did she do? It's always, why did she stay? It's never, why did he hit her? It's never, why does society support violence against women as a whole, right? It's never an indictment of the system. It's always an indictment of women. And so, these are just things that I've heard. These are just what people say. I just basically wrote down what people say all the time. Or what they don't say around me because they know the kind of work I do, but that's what they think. You can see it. And when these things are going to come up because you can see it in when people are talking, you can just see what they're about to say. you know,
Right.
you just know some nonsense is going to happen.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You just, they're going to say it. They say it all the time, and it is unfortunate because it doesn't help the healing process. So I'm glad that you captured it, because we're all part. I mean, we are our sister's keepers, and when we say that, that means we have to really try to help each other, and instead of saying that's not my problem, or she must like it, because we don't know what's going on until it happens to us. And to say never, there's unfortunately a lot of people who said never that are survivors today. So
yeah,
excellent.
And I also think people want to have some kind of control. They want to feel like they have control over a situation.
Yeah.
And so they want to distance themselves, like that could never happen to me. That would never be me. And it's like, well, in my opinion, domestic violence isn't the worst thing that can happen to you. There's lots of things that people accept in relationships without being hit that is abusive.
That is true.
And so I always find that interesting, because it's like, okay, your man's not hitting you, but he's doing all these other things.
Right.
So,
right.
So people need to remember that too.
Exactly. That's an excellent point. We tend to want to put pain in some kind of hierarchy.
Absolutely.
That, oh, well, the physical pain is up here, but everything else goes below that. But pain is pain.
Yeah, pain.
That's an excellent point.
That's right. Pain is pain. Yep. Absolutely.
All right. So the next one is We Black Girls.
Yeah, sure. I write my pain on paper so I know it's real. Evidence, slamming against ideals. And truthfully, I don't know if any of us will ever heal. I take the blue pill and wait for the big reveal. But in the meantime, I crack against the wall of racism. I crack against sexism. I crack against colorism. I crack. I got so many friends, but no one wants the real me. They want the Facebook me, the healer me, the expert me, the writer me, the artist me. Nobody wants to hear about that. They want woman warriors that don't complain and can take a beating. They want bad bitches that make good money, but not too much, that keep their bodies tight and like to fuck, but not too much. They don't want to know how we make over and make under, filtering ourselves thin, because we're desperate to be visible, desperate to be loved. We are cracking. We be cracking. We are cracked, but no one ever sees it, because we're Black.
This, I was listening to a friend of mine the other day who is a survivor of domestic violence, and one of the things she was saying was that no one hears her. They don't want to deal with that part of her. So they want the Facebook me, the healer me, the expert me, the writer me, the artist me, but they don't want to deal with the real me, which is all of that. And so that's why this is just so powerful, because we struggle to make our voices heard.
Yeah.
We struggle to make our pain real.
Yes.
We struggle within our communities, and we struggle outside of our communities.
Yes.
And so, so speak a little bit more about We Black Girls.
Well, I just think that, just like you're talking about your friend, I mean, I just think it's reality, it's like we are, and we, including me too. I mean, we're constantly putting these filtered images of ourselves out there, because we know that most people cannot handle our fullness, the fullness of who we are, not just as women, but I think just as people. People are complex. And I don't think that that there's patience, or that there is, the ability to see the complexity that people come with. I think that people have a hard time holding more than one truth in their head at a time. I don't think it was always that way. I think the ability to think critically and see things critically is going by the wayside, unfortunately. And so, really, it's just the space that we find ourselves in as women, as women of color, dealing with these issues, dealing with pain, dealing with, colorism, dealing with sexism, not being treated correctly by the external society, and then not even finding the support in our own community. It's the same old double bind theory. And so I just wanted to put that into words. I just wanted to talk about what that feels like, to really feel like the person you are isn't really accepted anywhere.
Right. And we're going to talk a little bit later about the collaboration we're doing called Sister Speak.
Yes.
That will be a platform for women to have those voices, so we can just make sure that women know that we see you. Yes. And you matter.
Yes.
So we'll talk a little bit about that at the end.
Yeah.
So for you, this, it's a little bit of you, right? Because you're a survivor of domestic violence. Is that correct?
I'm sorry. I didn't hear that last
You're
part.
a survivor.
Yes.
Of domestic violence, correct?
And sexual violence.
And sexual violence. So there's a bit of vulnerability, I would think, in writing something like this. How did you allow yourself to be vulnerable enough to say, okay,
I
can share this at time?
It is a character flaw. It's a character flaw. I write these things, I do these things, and then I don't think about it until like the book's about to come out or the show is about to come out, or I'm standing up stage reading the damn poem. I'm just letting these people, I don't know. I don't know. It's a character flaw. I mean, it's just like, it's like, how is this going to impact your family? How, all those things go through my head. But after, when I'm writing, I'm just writing. When I'm up there cursing, I'm just cursing. And then it's like, oh God, my family, like they don't know these things about you. So yeah, it's just a character flaw. Just a desire to tell the truth. I just believe in telling the truth. I just tell it like it is. I guess I just like to tell ugly truths, honey. I don't know.
Well, Dr. Brene Brown said that vulnerability requires courage and trust.
Yeah.
You have to have the courage to share, and then you're trusting the process.
Yeah.
And so regardless of who gets it, you're trusting that this process and there are whole space for you so that you can allow yourself to do this. So I applaud you. So anything else you want to share about the book, or is there anything you want to read?
No, I think that actually. So not only does the book have, women's stories, but it also has a few exercises, healing exercises, rituals, spiritual baths that people can do, gratitude exercises, things like that. And then it has national domestic violence hotlines in the back, national. And yeah. Oh, and it also has information on prevention. That's right. I got a lot of stuff in here. So it also has, there's a lot of prevention work that's being done around the country. So it's also a little bit of information about preventing violence and different campaigns and things like that folks can do, what employers can do There's a checklist in here about what employers can do to help prevent violence,
Okay.
and some CD Centers for Disease Control language on preventing violence as well. So yeah,
Excellent.
it's a lot. It's a lot in here.
It's a lot, but it's good. It's an amazing, I feel like it's a great resource book, regardless if you're a survivor or, like you said, if you are concerned about domestic violence or sexual violence at all, you should go out and get this book because there are things that maybe you don't know. If you say, hey, I'm that person who, yeah, I know people who experience domestic violence, and I was that person who said, well, they must like it. Perhaps, not perhaps, you should go and get the book. If you're in a faith-based community, if you're in nonprofit organizations or shelters, it's an amazing resource. If you're a survivor and you just need support, it's one of the things I find that it's always good when you know someone who's going through or have gone through what you're dealing with. It helps. The poems are good, the interviews are good, there's the rituals and the exercises you can do. It can get you through a place when you're just kind of stuck. It can kind of help move you through the process. It's a journey.
It is. It is a journey,
right?
It is a journey. And I think that, I mean, you've read it. And so, you've seen some of these stories. I mean, they're not, sometimes people think there's one kind of survivor, and these stories are really cut across lots of different classes. There's lots of different things, ages, and even for me reading it again, I was like, yeah, we made some interesting decisions, but it's real. It's just like, it's real. That's all I can say.
Yeah, it's definitely real. Well, the thing is, the business of my art, what we do is try to help people with the business side. So we have a lot of people that are writers, poets, artists, dancers, you name it. But oftentimes when it comes to the business side, that's where there's the struggle. How do I get my work out there? So for the people who are going to watch this or watching this, how did you, so how long, first of all, did it take you to write the book? And then talk to us about your process. The publisher, did you self-publish? And then what's next? How do you get the book out there?
So the book is a culmination. This has been this is actually the second iteration of this book. And so I went back and I updated because the original book didn't have any healing in it. It didn't have my poetry in it. And I've changed so much since the first book. And so, and I did a teeny tiny press. I think I printed like 100 books. So really, this is like the first book, really. Printed 100 books. My mama sold them at her job. I sold them to some friends. And she did. My mama went to her job at the state. She was like, buy my baby's book. So it took a long time, right? Because, initially I interviewed all the women and, interviewing them and then transposing their stories from tape to computer, then to books. So it was a long process. So probably about 2 years just for that. And then getting the artwork, putting the poetry in, doing the healing exercises. So it's really about a 5 or 6 year project, really.
Okay.
And that's because I stopped and started, right? So for people who are looking at doing this, this wasn't a linear process for me. I had to live a life. I worked a job. I moved across states. And so it was one of those things where I put it down, I picked it up, I put it down, I picked it up. And then last year I was just like, you know what? I'm going to just do it. I'm going to get it out there. I don't care. Like, I'm doing it. And so it's it doesn't really, it doesn't really matter how long you take to get your dream done. It's just do it. Do something.
Yeah.
Get your
Yeah.
words out there. You know, don't, like Dr. Dwayne Dyer, the late Dr. Dwyer used to always say, don't die with your music still in you, you know. Um,
Yeah.
and I believe that. I don't want to have any music left. Like when it's time for me to leave here, I want every idea I ever had out there. And so yeah, so it was about 5 or 6 years total.
Okay.
I went through a long and arduous process with a publisher um, that did not work out. And so that's when I was like, I'm just going to do it myself. And so I did self publish it. It was very easy. It's expensive, but I feel like it was worth it. You know, I feel like they put a good product together. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, so how long? 5 years. I self published. What were your other questions? Oh,
Yeah. So you self.
mm-hmm.
And then, so what's the next step? How are you?
Yeah,
We'll talk about where they can buy it, but
yeah,
or you can talk about that as part of the
yeah, yeah,
process.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
now the marketing side of it, right? So
yeah,
how do you get it out
yeah.
there, and so that mom doesn't keep hitting up the job, but
Word,
everyone.
word, baby. I already
Well,
told
thank
her.
you, Mom, because we all have our trunk stories, right? We're telling ourselves about the trunk of our car. Um, so now, what's kind of the plan now going
Well,
forward?
first of all, this is the version that is in my trunk, in my back seat, actually. So I am riding with these in my back seat. I came into the coffee shop. The lady was like, "Oh, you have your book. Where can I get it?" I was like, "I got it in my back seat." So, so, so I am doing that. It's hard for me to do that, though. It's hard for me to sell in that way, but I just have to do it. And then, of course, it's available on Amazon. So when it first came out, I used social media. Um,
Right.
for the initial announcement because I felt like that was
Yeah.
important to do to let folks know
Yeah.
it's out there. Technically, when you self publish, I get more money selling them out of my trunk, right?
Right.
So that's the best
Right.
way for folks who want to do this. You are going to get your return if you sell them. But I really wanted to use social media to
Right.
get it out there immediately and to let people know it was there. And so people like jumped on, started buying it. So that was excellent. And that was really surprising for me. How many people have shown so much love right off the bat. So definitely social media. That was the first phase. And now I went and purchased some books. So now I got them in my back seat. And then the next phase is public speaking engagements. So
Awesome.
I have speaking engagement that's coming up at Springfield College next month. I will bring some books, right? I have I have a speaking engagement at Smith College in April. I will bring books. Like they already said, you can bring them, you can read from it, you can sell them. So that's really the next phase is putting them out into the universities. Also pitching national syndications, television shows, and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the process that I'm in now. And I have something that should be coming out next week, but I can't really talk about yet. But so that should be major.
Something's
Um,
coming out.
we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Something pretty cool. So I'm kind of trying to do it in stages because I don't really know what I'm doing about book selling. So I'm studying. I'm going on the internet. I'm seeing what people do.
Excellent.
And then
Excellent.
I'm flipping it to put my own spin on it. And, networking.
Yeah.
Thank God, for the opportunity to do things like this, to talk about it. So I think just
Yeah.
getting the word out.
Excellent. And the one thing that I would recommend, and a lot of people, when you talk about social media, you can purchase an ad, let's say on Facebook.
Yes.
I did one time. I may have paid $10 to reach, 2,500 people. And you can time those things, and you can target people, a certain age group, certain gender, certain locations, especially if you're speaking. You spend $10, hey, I'm going to be at this college, get your book, this is where you can buy it. Because if you want to buy it out of the trunk of her car, you got to be where she is, right? So,
True. It's true. I was thinking about that.
You're in Connecticut now, right? But you live in New York.
Yes.
You live in New York, and then so you definitely can catch her speaking engagement. And but if you're like, hey, I'm not in that area, then places like Amazon, and there was one other one.
Yeah, you can get it on Amazon.com, and you can also get it on Balboa Books.
Excellent. And so if you go to one of those, you can pick it up, and then she's going to continue to roll it out there. And I encourage bookstores. I don't care if you're a bookstore anywhere, African-American bookstore, if you're a college bookstore, if you're a faith-based organization bookstore, get this book in your bookstore, have her in. She loves to sign and talk to people, loves to come out and speak, do some poetry, whole workshops, right?
Yes. And I do workshops as well. There is a curriculum that I'm writing right now. So I'm glad you said that. There is a curriculum that I'm working on right now that's based off of the work of this book and of the play that was inspired by this book. So I'm actually working on that right now.
Excellent. So curriculum, play, poetry. I mean, you can do it a whole event, actually, off this one
Absolutely.
book, and with Ms. Zoe Flowers. And so before we go, though, I just want to talk a little bit about who are you outside of this, even though you're all of them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You are an author, you are a poet, but tell us something about Zoe that we may not know.
Oh my gosh, there's so much. Because I was talking to my supervisor the other day, and she's like, every time she talks to me, she feels like she has to say my name, like Zoe Flowers. It's just like rainbows all the time. And I'm like, sister, it is not rainbows all the time. It is rainbows until it is not rainbows. But again, I'm complex. I mean, we're complex people, I can be super silly, very serious, very ratchet, as you may know. I like to have fun. I like to go dancing, have a good time. I like to, drop it. I like to have a good time. I'm a Libra. I like to get it popping as much as possible.
I love it.
Yeah.
You love to travel. You love to travel.
I love to travel. I love nature. I love meeting, new people from different cultures. I love immersing myself in different cultures. I love being at the beach. That's my favorite place to be in the world. A tropical environment is my natural environment. I'm not a fan of this snow.
So
Favorite what?
You're not a fan of?
Favorite what you said?
What's your favorite food?
Okay. I would have to say Thai food.
Thai.
Really excellent pizza and Indian food.
Ah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in the New York area, and you want to just have a sit down, maybe this could be a contest or something. You can cook for Zoe, Thai, pizza, Indian food. She'll come and have a one-on-one session with you. You can't have no crazy.
Word up. I'll even bring the wine.
Talk to you about her work, the stuff that she's doing, and you can have a one-on-one with her. Or if you say, hey, I'm not a cook, but we can meet at this great pizza place.
I love that.
Hit her up. So how do we get in touch with you, Zoe?
Yeah. So people can visit my website. It's Soul Requirements, SOUL Requirements, UIREMENTS.org. And so they can visit my website. They can find me on Twitter, Divine by Design. They can find me on Instagram, which is I am Zoe Flowers. Super easy. And I'm on LinkedIn too, but I don't use it enough. So,
Right.
but it's Zoe
So
Flowers. I think
website,
it's Zoe Flowers. Yeah. So.
Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah. They can.
Zoe
Yes.
Flowers on Facebook. I am Zoe Flowers on Instagram, which is my favorite. I am Zoe Flowers. And their Twitter account, once again, is Divine by Design.
Divine by Design, and it's design with an E, so it's DESIGNE.
DESIGNE. Excellent, excellent. So I am Zoe Flowers, is the author of From Ashes to Angel Dust, A Journey Through Womanhood. It has been my pleasure having you on this show and talking to you. So I learned that you love Indian food and pizza and Thai food, and that you have this amazing gift. And I want to applaud you for showing a little bit of yourself and trusting the process and getting this necessary work out there. And so we're going to be supporting you. Go out and get the book, because here's the thing: when you support someone else, they'll support you. You know, it's kind of like the cycle of giving, right? When she posted it on Instagram, I was one of the first ones to go out and buy it, because I like to support our people and what they're doing. It's amazing work, and this is important. So for those of you who business of my art, you can hit us up on Facebook, facebook.com, the business of my art. Our website, our parent company, DestinyEntertain.com. And then you can always hit me up on Instagram. Our hashtag is the business of my art. And before we go, Zoe and I are going to be doing a collaboration called Sister Speak, Sister, SISTAH, Speak. And it is a platform specifically for women, particularly women of color, to give us a voice so that we can not only speak up, but we can speak out against those things that do not serve us. We can speak to each other, healing to each other, and we can speak about ourselves and the things that we're doing so that the world would know that we're here. So more is coming on that. I am excited about Sister Speak.
Me too.
Zoe and I and we're going to come together. We're going to be coming to college campuses, and there's just more to come than that. And so be on the lookout for that.
Yes.
And Zoe, any words before we go? This has been fun.
I know. I'm just excited. I'm excited for Sister Speak. I'm excited. So if anybody wants to, start contacting us about that, we'll come to your city. So be on the lookout for Sister Speak.
Yeah. Yes. But in the meantime, From Ashes to Angel Dust, go buy the book. Can't say it enough. There are several places you can go to Amazon. You can find her in Connecticut or New York or at a college campus, an artist party. I'm just throwing this out there. With some Thai food, invite a few people over.
Sounds great.
Have the book in support. Have some wine, some really good wine. Just some amazing ideas. And she'll travel, so it doesn't have to be in New York. I think she likes warm places. So if you're in Florida or California or Tennessee and want to have an artist party and invite Zoe, by all means, reach out to her. Her website is Soul Requirements. Her Instagram is I am Zoe Flowers. So reach out to her. Is there an email address, Zoe, that you want them, or is that the best way?
Yeah, they can email me through the website.
Email on the website. So we are so grateful to have you here and want to thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun. And the business of my art will be highlighting another author soon. But in the meantime, From Ashes to Angel Dust, A Journey Through Womanhood, Zoe Flowers. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Stephanie.